In the heart of Yorubaland, in the town of Igbogila, a story of profound resilience began on the 22nd of January 1934. Ezekiel Oludunni Atanda Owolabi was born to a respected patriarch, Chief Thomas Akanbi Owolabi, the Baba Ijo of the local Baptist church, and the gentle Eunice Olosuku Asabi Owolabi. His birth was a fragile miracle. Of the 16 children his mother bore, only he and one other sibling would survive. This harsh introduction to life seemed to instill in him a survivor's instinct and an innate understanding that time was a precious commodity not to be squandered. His early years were a tapestry woven with the threads of community life and education, first at Methodist primary school and later at other institutions as circumstances dictated. The first great test of his spirit arrived at the threshold of his adolescence. Having excelled in his primary education, he earned a place at the esteemed Baptist Boys High School, a clear path to a promising future. But the path was barred by a wall of poverty. His family could not afford the fees. For many, this would have been the end of a dream, a point of surrender. For young Ezekiel, it was a redirection. In a decision that would define the course of his entire life, he chose not to abandon the world of education, but to enter it through a different door. He became a pupils teacher at Wasimi Station, transforming a moment of deep disappointment into the first step of his lifelong mission. The seed of resilience had been planted in unforgiving soil, and it had begun to sprout.
Part 2. The Forge of Knowledge. The years that followed were a testament to an iron will. Chief Owolabi's journey was not a gentle ascent, but a hard, deliberate climb, hand over hand, up the sheer cliff face of self-improvement. He moved from being a pupil teacher to formally earning his Grade 3 teacher's certificate at the Elementary Teacher Training College in Ilaro, and later his Grade 2 certificate from Ijabkab Teacher Training College. While he was a headmaster by day, he was a solitary scholar by night. Under the flickering light of a lamp, he pored over correspondence materials from the Rapid Result College in London, his mind a forge where raw determination was hammered into academic brilliance. His solitary efforts yielded spectacular results. In 1962, he passed 7 GCE O-level subjects. Without pausing for breath, he conquered 4 A-level subjects with distinction the very next year. His intellect was so voracious that during the same period, he also passed his intermediate LLB examinations. The doors to higher learning finally seemed to swing open, and he was offered admission to study law at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. But once again, the familiar specter of poverty returned. He couldn't even afford the fare to travel, let alone pay the fees. The dream of law was painfully relinquished. Yet this crushing blow did not break him. It merely strengthened his resolve, and he returned to teaching until another opportunity arose, an admission to the University of Ibadan to study geography. Part 3. The Promise Fulfilled. The admission to the prestigious University of Ibadan in 1964 was a monumental step, but the final hurdle remained. For months, his registration was in peril due to financial constraints. It was in this moment of uncertainty that a lifeline appeared from an unexpected source. The Catholic Church, recognizing his immense potential and dire need, offered him a scholarship. This act of grace was more than just financial aid. It was a vote of confidence that he would carry in his heart for the rest of his life. He seized the opportunity and graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Geography in 1967. His first act as a graduate was of profound gratitude. He committed himself to serving the institution that had rescued his dream. Teaching at St. Teresa College in Ibadan for 8 years, from 1967 to 1975. This was not merely a job, it was the faithful repayment of a debt of honor. During his tenure, he continued to build on his foundation, earning a postgraduate diploma in education from his alma mater. By the time he left St. Teresa's, he was no longer just a man who had struggled for an education. He was a polished, highly qualified, and deeply philosophical educator, fully prepared for the next great chapter of his life's work. Part 4. The Architect of Self-Reliance. With the creation of new states in 1976, Chief Owolabi was called home to Ogun State to become the pioneer principal of Baptist High School, Ilaro. It was here that his life's philosophy found its most potent expression. He was not just a principal, he was an architect of human potential. He believed that education should be a lifelong commitment to the development of human capacity for the positive transformation of self-reliance. This was not a lofty ideal, but a practical, hands-on mission. He transformed the school into a living laboratory where academic pursuits and agricultural production were given equal weight. The school became famous for its large-scale farms, and students learned the dignity of labor alongside their lessons. This revolutionary model of developing the total student garnered national acclaim, attracting visits from dignitaries like Head of State General Olusegun Obasanjo. His success placed him at a critical juncture in 1978. He was offered a prestigious tripartite scholarship to study at the University of Manchester and simultaneously won the UPN party's primary for a near-certain seat in the State House of Assembly. Faced with the choice between political power and further knowledge, Chief Owolabi made the decision that defined his character. He relinquished the political ticket and chose the path of the scholar, reaffirming that his true ambition was service through enlightenment. Part 5. A Man for All Seasons. Chief Ezekiel Owolabi's life was a rich tapestry woven from many different threads. He was a true polymath whose influence extended far beyond the classroom. As a politician, he was active from his university days in the Action Group to the Social Democratic Party, SDP, serving his people directly as a counselor. As a trade unionist, he rose through the ranks of the Nigerian Union of Teachers, NUT, becoming a powerful voice for educators not just in Nigeria, but across the continent and the world as an executive member of the WCOTP. This role made him a global ambassador, taking him to countries like Japan, Brazil, Switzerland, and the USA. Yet for all his international travels, his heart remained tethered to his homeland. The poignant story of him attending a lavish banquet in Switzerland, surrounded by exotic foods, yet craving only a simple roasted cocoyam from his father's farm in Igbolila, captures his essence perfectly. He was a global citizen with an unshakably local soul. His community, in turn, celebrated him, conferring upon him the chieftaincy title of Aro of Ketuland. He was a linguist, a certified athletics coach, an author, a farmer, and a Rotarian. A man for all seasons, who seamlessly balanced his many roles with grace and boundless energy.
Part 6. The Unending Harvest. Retirement from the teaching service in 1987 was, for Chief Owolabi, not an end, but a transition. He simply shifted the focus of his immense work ethic, dedicating himself to full-time farming and writing. His mind, ever active, continued to produce, and he became a prolific author and consultant for major publishing firms. His work culminated in the 2008 publication of Ejo-tani, a Yoruba book that received the ultimate validation of being adopted for the national NECO examination. His harvest of knowledge would now feed generations of students he would never meet. As a family man, he was a patriarch to a large family with 2 wives and 12 surviving children, leading them with a firm but loving hand, preferring the wisdom of his words to the sting of a cane. His children, in their tribute, Remember him as an extreme workaholic who died of what he loved best, hard work. His passing, though in his mid-70s, felt premature because the fire of his passion burned so brightly it seemed it could never be extinguished. His legacy is not just in the buildings he led or the books he wrote, but in the thousands of lives he cultivated, the self-reliance he taught, and the powerful example of a life lived to its absolute fullest. The Iroko tree has fallen, but the forest it nourished continues to thrive.